Master Your Mindset Radio, episode 114.
Welcome to Master Your Mindset Radio, the show where we empower you to discover your true self before the world told you differently. Now for your host, Elizabeth Nader.
Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. You've heard me talk about growth mindset versus fixed mindset before. I'm sure I've done a podcast or two about those subjects, but I want to revisit it just from a very specific standpoint. I want to revisit growth mindset. I read an article the other day and the title grabbed me. Here's the title: How Praise Became a Consolation Prize. And this article was focused on helping children primarily confront challenges with a more nuanced understanding of growth mindset. The article is basically saying that educators and parents may not really understand what growth mindset is, and they think it's as simple as just saying, well, if you don't succeed, you learn and we keep going. And I have a growth mindset, you have a growth mindset. That's where we always have to stay. But that's not really realistic, and that's not the full picture. So what's happened as a result of us not truly understanding the growth mindset is that we overpraise. We praise the effort. Now, you could hear that and hopefully you're thinking participation trophy, which I hate. I hate participation trophies. I didn't have them growing up. I don't know if you did, but it's become something that we do. And I think it's a really negative thing to give kids, praising just the effort. Now you're going to say, well, of course you want to praise the effort. You don't want kids to quit. You want them to keep going. But I think the nuance is important. So just stay with me for a little bit to talk about this. You know, when you look at researchers that focus on how some children face challenges and they keep going, and the way they face failures, while others will find themselves shrinking back, what makes a difference of those children? What do they embrace? How do they approach life in a way that doesn't make them shrink back? And I think what one of the differences is the people in their life and how they influence them when it comes to failure. So in a typical conversation about fixed mindset and growth mindset, you would say a fixed mindset is focused only on the outcome, which is success or failure. But a growth mindset is all about the process of getting there and the fact that you improve through the process, and that is more important. And ultimately, you either succeed or you learn. That's true, and that's great. But here is the issue. We have this false growth mindset that's come out of this understanding of how important it is to not have a fixed mindset. We've had a false growth mindset that focuses on really praising the effort. Why is that negative? Well, I think kids see through that. I think if you praise the effort, the reason why you're doing that is you're trying to protect their confidence. You're trying to focus on their ability. You're trying to boost their view of themselves and let them know that they're still, valuable and all those things that are important. But what you're doing is conveying anxiety about that child's ability. And I think children are starting to see through that. So what happens is we rush in when a child fails and we treat it as though it's something negative, as though they have to be really, dealt with regarding that. They have to be embraced, and they have to be praised, and they have to be shielded from that failure. So we end up praising the effort. Well, the child doesn't have a growth mindset in that situation. They remain with a fixed mindset because they see that they failed and they see that you're praising the effort to get there, but the effort to get there was the wrong strategy. The effort that they put out to get to what they hope was success didn't work. So why would we praise the strategy? It was a failed strategy. So you see how interesting that is? When we praise the effort, we're telling the children that, oh, good job. You tried really hard. Next time it'll work. Well, next time it's not going to work if you employ the same strategy that resulted in the failure. So we have this false growth mindset that we're giving to children that isn't really a growth mindset, because we need them to look at their effort and look at what they did and instead say, all right, feedback loop, feedback mechanism. What went wrong and why? Are you doing that with your children, or are you just simply praising the effort? Because fast forward to adulthood, and when things don't work in their life, are you teaching them to problem solve and to look at it differently? Or are you teaching them that, well, I tried really hard, so I should be praised for that? I mean, all that matters is I tried hard. No, that's not all that matters. What matters is that you problem solve and you think about it and you try new strategies and you adjust and you come at the problem differently, or you practice harder or in a different way. It's adjusting the strategy instead of just praising the effort. I just thought this was so important for parents especially, but also to adults. Think about yourself. If you believe you're employing a growth mindset, are you praising yourself for the effort? Or are you saying, okay, I didn't fail, I learned, but how do I adjust my strategy to do better next time? And then praise yourself for the strategy adjustment. This is, while it's a small thing, it's actually a huge shift, because then we start to have better learning. We start to look at our resources differently. We start to employ things we have around us differently. We come at the problem from a unique standpoint. We don't come at it from the same standpoint. I mean, really, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So if we keep praising effort, if we just keep praising effort, then what we're doing is we're really stifling growth. We're stifling the potential for success because we're not saying you need to take a different strategy. What can we do differently? How do we come at this in a new way? What do you have to work on so next time you do it in a unique way? Next time you employ different resources. It's really the creativity that comes from that, the growth that comes from that, the mental gymnastics you have to do to come up with a different strategy that actually make you smarter. It's all of that that equals a growth mindset, not just praising the effort and telling yourself, well, I did a good job, or telling a child, great job, great effort, next time you'll win. Well, you won't unless you employ a different strategy. So as parents, let's make sure we're not giving our kids a false growth mindset. And as adults, let's make sure we're pushing ourselves to say, if something doesn't work, find a new solution. Be of that mindset where we know we didn't fail, we learned, but real learning comes from changing strategy. It means, oh, that didn't work, let's do something different. If you're thinking that way, then you are truly in a growth mindset. And by the way, just as a closing thought, growth mindset is something you're not in every part of your life all the time. That's also a false assumption. We have fixed mindsets about certain things in our lives and growth mindset about others, and so do children. And I think this growth mindset trend, which is super important, but it has been used almost to beat people up, that you always have to be in a growth mindset. Well, you're not going to be. There are times in your life and areas of your life that you don't have that. It's a goal, but understand you're not always in it. And neither are children. And so some areas, they have to be in a fixed mindset until they mature. Some areas in your life, you know where they are. You have a fixed mindset. You look at it differently. You may not be ready to change that. So we are not in a growth mindset in all areas of our life. That's not how it works. And we're not simply in a growth mindset because we praise ourselves even when we fail and we have a good attitude. We are in it when we look to change our strategy for doing things. If it's not working, change your approach. And that applies to every area of your life. So let's stop having a false growth mindset. Let's have a real growth mindset. And if we are teaching this to others, let's make sure that we teach it correctly. Have a great week, guys.
Thank you for listening to Master Your Mindset Radio. Before you go, please visit elizabethnader.com to learn more about the Mindset Maven and how she is guiding high performers to map their mindset to their message so they can effectively express who they are and why their ideas should win. Looking forward to seeing you online.